Hey folks, it's Finn. So this week is a bit of a mental health catch-up, but it's more of one of my thought bubble vlogs. Warning! This is where I've had some realisations that are still making sense, but rather than keep them to myself and wait till they make sense, I'm going to share them with you now, because in doing so, they usually end up making sense. Did that make sense? Anyway, let's get stuck in. Because it's one of these thinky vlogs, I might go on a bit of a ramble, and it might be a bit long. So grab yourself a cuppa, or your favourite beverage of choice, and perhaps a bag of popcorn. Right, my mental health. One of the biggest things that gets me through a bad mental health phase, actually there's two things that I've learned over the last 7 years. The main one is that it passes. I used to be so afraid when I was really low, and that fear just made things worse. I just used to have to drink on stuff and take drugs or self-harm and all of those poor ways of coping with it because I didn't trust it to pass. I just wanted to squish it away. I've learned now from 7 years of experience that it does pass. The second thing that makes it easier to deal with is knowing that every single time I go through a mental health issue and I don't use negative coping mechanisms on it, every time I allow myself to go through it, to feel it all, as painful as it is, that I always emerge the other side with a greater knowledge of myself, or it becomes apparent that there was a reason I wasn't seeing behind it, that in going through a mental health problem phase, brings to light. That seems to be what has happened here. A lot has gone on in the last year. It all started, not this January, the January before, with losing Blake, my surgery going wrong, mum being poorly, moving here from Devon back to East Sussex, mum's diagnosis, all of that. It's no wonder things have been tough. And I think at first I thought that most of this was due to that kind of upheaval and to do with my mum's diagnosis and coming to terms with that. And there is a large chunk of it that is to do with that. But I'm realising that there's another element that it's one of those elements where once you realise that it's the truth, you just wonder how the dickens you missed it in the first place. One of the biggest frustrations I face with my mental health on a daily basis is the ongoing frustration and shame, which is so hard to deal with. I got clean and sober 7 years ago. I'd never made that much progress forward in my life, so I embarked on doing a degree in psychology because I really wanted to pay forward what I'd learned. I really wanted to move into counselling, into therapy, group work, all of that. And I knew I wasn't well enough to do it at the time, but I figured to just do some volunteer work over the years, and by the time I actually got my degree, I would be well. Unfortunately, that hasn't quite happened. I graduate next year, and I'm still no closer to work, really. I keep doing volunteer work, and then I have a mental health episode. I have to stop doing that volunteer work. And this is what frustrates me on a daily basis. Every time I get poorly, I'm like, oh God, here we go again. So I've got to stop everything again. And this has continually happened over the last 7 years. I'm not negating that there's been loads and loads of progress internally, but in terms of getting off benefits, getting out into the working world, I'm just not managing it. And that is really frustrating and adding to my mental health problems, because every time I think, right, I'm in Eastbourne now, I want to connect with some volunteer work here, I'm not well enough to do it. What's caused the sudden realisation, which I am getting to honestly, is a comment my counsellor made. She said to me, 7 years is not that long to get yourself clean and sober, manage your mental health better, transitioning, getting a degree, and moving into working as a therapist. When she said that, I had a light bulb moment and went, oh yeah, that's a lot, isn't it? I mean, come on, of course it's a lot. How had I not seen this? I think because of the huge leap forward I made once I got into recovery, that amazing difference. I just kind of thought that I would be so much more well in 7 years. And where I am, of course, I still have ongoing mental health episodes, anxiety episodes, which get in the way of everything. And it's probably going to take a few more years at least for that all to settle down. I'm only 5 years on tea. I'm only 5. I'm only cleaning this over 7 years. It's a long time, but still, it's quite small in the grand scheme of things. If I wasn't 44, this wouldn't be as much of an issue. But if I keep waiting to be well, I'm going to be retired by the time I'm a counsellor. And this has just made me stop and reflect over the last couple of weeks. And I've realised that I have to give up my plan to move into therapy. I cannot be a counsellor. I cannot be a therapist. I can't even be a support worker. Not right now. I can do those support things. I love doing the stuff that I do from here. The occasional talk, the support via emails or Skype or whatever is great because it's just one-off stuff. But there's no way I can do that every day for a living. It's just not possible. And my God, it hurts to say it out loud. I spoke to my brother when he came down a couple of weeks ago because my brother, more than anyone, understands what it's like to have such a huge career change, to go from something that's pretty much guaranteed into something that's in flights of fancy and it doesn't seem achievable, you know. So it was really lovely to speak to him about this and just talk about how it feels, on the one hand, to say out loud, I can't pursue this path, and how it feels liberating on another. I may well be one day, I'm not ruling it out. I'm definitely going to finish my degree as I only have one module left, and I do love the topic, that hasn't changed. But what has changed is my focus for now. Because once I realised that, I sat and took stock of everything else that I'm trying to do at the moment, writing my memoir and all of that. And it just dawned on me. Again, when you have these realisations, it's like, why is this only dawning on me now? Why don't I make writing my career? Because that can be worked around my mental health, and more importantly, it can start now. I don't have to wait to be well. You know, I can start right now, and on poor days, when I'm not very well, I don't write much. When I'm very well, I write lots. And that has just been very liberating the last few weeks. You've probably seen lots of little posts about me writing stuff, and I've changed some stuff around to some of my blogs and the headers of WordPress and stuff like that. And this is why I am moving forward with a plan to become a full-time writer. I'm not quite sure exactly how that's going to look yet. I'm writing my memoir, that's definitely a plan to get it out. I've started writing some short stories. I've submitted one to a competition and a couple to magazines. I could possibly move into content writing, ghostwriting, I don't know. But I'm just writing and then finding opportunities for where to send it. So, yeah, that's what's been going on. I keep hinting about. I think I was scared to say it out loud. A, scared to say I'm no longer going to be a counsellor out loud. And B, to say that I am a writer. I am a writer. I've read some amazing books lately that are helping me to deal with this feeling of like, well, surely I should stick to a well-known path rather than like this kind of flights of fancy idea about being a writer. But why is it a flights of fantasy idea? Why is this bit in my brain thinking that that's not a real job? Of course it's a real job. I really don't know why I didn't think of this before. It just makes absolute sense, really, because I love writing. I've always loved writing. I love what I do on here. It just seems the next logical step to start putting everything on paper as well as on video, because I used to do a lot of that, and then since gravitating and doing more videos, I've not written as much. It's all about working with what you've got, and I'm constantly working with what I'd like to have, and that's not serving me anymore, you know. What I've got is persistent mental health issues where I don't have a very long period of time before something hits again. That's just how it is. So that doesn't mean I can't do anything. It doesn't mean I have to sit around waiting to be well. I can find a way to do stuff regardless of being unwell. And writing does make complete and utter sense. It really does feel like a big part of this really huge mental health crash I've had lately is not just to do with mum. It's to do a lot with, me and my brother spoke about it as a midlife crisis, and it probably is a bit of that. It's about reevaluating what it is I really want to do. And I hadn't realised just how much pressure I was putting on myself and where I was stuck. And now it's just all made complete sense, really, completely. Even to the point of beforehand, my vlogging and my writing and all of that was so disjointed and it didn't make sense how I was going to bring it all together, because I love this, but I do of course have to make a living somehow, you know. I need to earn my own crust, I want to come off benefits. And so now it's all making sense how my WordPress website, my blog, my vlogging, my writing, submitting stories, writing my memoir can all come together in one big fin-shaped bundle to go out there. I'm excited for the first time since really taking this on board and realising this is absolutely what I need to do. This is what I'm supposed to do, I feel, because I've been visited by so many writers over the years telling me to write. It feels like this has been nagging at me for such a long time, and it took this realisation to make me go, come on, Finn. This last week, since Monday, I've had a bit of a mental health crash again, but it's been very different because rather than that kind of thought of, oh God, I'm still unwell, I'm not getting any more well, I'm never going to, I'm going to have to study in October and I'm still not well, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, I'm not feeling well today, so I'll just sit in bed and write. It just takes that huge amount of pressure off, where I'm still being productive, I'm still pursuing a path that I can do now rather than have to wait, which means I'm not resenting my mental health as much, you see? So this is Finn's thought bubble for the week. This is where I'm at. So you are going to see lots of kind of banner changes, bio changes, all sorts happening. Nothing's going to change on here. I'm still going to do exactly what I've always done because I love it. But alongside, there's going to be much more writing going on. So I will put a link to my WordPress blog, which has been dormant, but it won't be anymore. Now, it all makes sense. There'll be much more writing on there as well. So please do follow that and check that out. That would be lovely. If you've reached the end of this very long and waffly vlog, then I thank you for your patience. I like to keep all you lovely Finn fam up to date with what's happening and to share my bubbling thoughts, my sprouting ideas when they're babies. I like to share them with you right from the very beginning, so then you can go on the journey with me as it all begins to make much more sense. Which it will, I promise. Also this week, there is a new channel intro coming. Exciting! So keep your eye out for that as well. Thanks for watching, everybody, and thank you for always being so encouraging and reassuring and supporting in everything I do. Take care of yourselves. See you next week. Bye bye.